Hello, everyone. Welcome to SQ Global. I am your host, Rajni. And today, again, I have with me a very special guest on the show. She's back again with, her charming spirit and and also her motivated spirit. And today on the program, we are going to speak with her about entrepreneurship and also about small businesses in pandemic. Her name is Katie Matthews. And guys, she at a very young age have become a very successful entrepreneur and is running too many businesses. And yes, she also is a founder and also is a speaker. So before starting the show, let's welcome her to SQ Global. Hi, Katie. Welcome to SQ Global.
Hi, Rajni. Thanks so much for having me on again. It's a pleasure to be here and for that lovely introduction.
Of course, I mean, you deserve it all because you are so successful at such a young age, and you are such an inspiration to look at. So so we are going to speak more about that. But Katie, my very first question to you, I would like to ask. So if you can, please talk about that. Actually, okay. So if you don't mind, so I would like you to reveal your age to our audiences.
That's fine, not a problem. I'm 29 currently. 6 months time. Well, in January I'm going to be 30. So I've got to get everything done first. That's meant to be young, because I think I'm going to be having a third of my life crisis at that point. So
yeah, I mean, at such a young age, I mean, you're not even 30, and you are 29, and in your 20s you have achieved so much. You are running so many businesses and have become a multi-award. Yes, I forgot to mention, she also is a multi-award-winning entrepreneur. So you actually have done quite a lot. So how did you manage to do that? And if you can please talk about that.
Yes, no problem at all. So as you've said already, I run a few different businesses. I started my first business when I was 23, after graduating from university. I live in Northern Ireland, so I graduated from Queen's in 2014. But unfortunately, after graduation, my mental health took a really bad turn, really bad decline. And I ended up being signed off. I started a new job, but I ended up being signed off work for 6 months with mental ill health. I wasn't able to leave the house. I couldn't speak to people. I couldn't answer the phone, nothing. And that's what I always say. I always say it's a big change because people can't get me to stop now. So, but so it was during that time that I kind of really decided to start my own business, because I thought to myself, I've always wanted to work for myself. My teachers used to say bossy, but I prefer leader. So, I'd always been in leadership roles. I'd always kind of had that entrepreneurial spirit, if you like. And then I thought, right, this is the time to do it. Look, you're not happy in that other role. You need this for your mental health. It was something that made me happy. So I started Excel in Education tutoring school then when I was 23. And then I was doing that for a few years, just really trying to kind of innovate the tuition industry so that it wasn't just all about academia and grades and what they were achieving in exams. So of course that has its merit, and that's important for people. But at the same time, I tried to take a more holistic approach, that not only were we focusing on their education, but we were also supporting their mental health. We were looking at their well-being. We were looking at growth mindset development, so that not only were they getting those academic skills, but they were getting the other sort of education with that as well. And that's why I think so many young people kind of enjoyed being tutored by me. I know that might sound strange, but even now my students go, oh my goodness, I love doing maths with you. It's so much better than school, and I say, well, that's because you have to go to school. You choose to come with me. But no, so that was, kind of the first time I delved into proper entrepreneurship, if you like. And then unfortunately, with that first business, then when I was 26, I actually was declared bankrupt. I actually had to file for bankruptcy. And that was horrendous. I had a big team of staff that I had to let go, and of course carried a lot of guilt with that, because they had families, and, it was sad to see it kind of all falling apart, essentially, because you put your heart and soul into it as an entrepreneur. It's your baby, and you want it to be something that you grow, and, that you're able to contribute to the economy, contribute to the community. But as I say, that happened. And it was kind of then within that period that I decided, right, I want to go back into entrepreneurship. I want to work for myself again.
Mm-hmm.
But this time, I need to take the learnings from that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's been one of the crucial things in rebuilding and, achieving success is actually, yes, I made mistakes. Yes, I failed, but it's learning from those. And it was particularly within that period that I really started to do a lot of growth mindset work and find out more about it and sort of embrace those behaviors. So in that bankruptcy period, 2 months into it, I actually set up the Mind Tribe UK. Obviously, as a sole trader, I couldn't be a limited company and all that there. But I've been doing that now for just coming up for 2.5 years now. And it's just been absolutely incredible. I love it. I think that's one of the big things about entrepreneurship is having that passion for something. That's always going to give you some sort of success. It depends on how you measure success, whether it's financial, whether it's quality of life, whether it's your happiness, and I think that's something we're all trying to kind of work out, whether we are entrepreneurs or whether we're in work, is how to get that balance and actually be happy and live the life that we want to live. But yeah, that's been quite a journey, but the last 2.5 years have kind of been really where I've knuckled down, learnt the lessons and utilized them then in building my other businesses. So as I say, I've built the Mind Tribe. During the pandemic, I then co-founded a business, a startup with my partner. He's an entrepreneur as well, so we thought may as well work together. We're nearly married, so he's sticking around. And and then during that bankruptcy period was when I established the voluntary organisations. So I run the Young Entrepreneurs Network in Northern Ireland, which supports 18 to 30-year-old young entrepreneurs, young professionals, aspiring entrepreneurs as well, because that was the thing for me during the bankruptcy period. As a young entrepreneur and as a young female disabled entrepreneur, I was like, who do I speak to? Who can I turn to? I don't know who to go to for support. And that's another big thing I think that has really contributed to my success is having such a good support network, people that really care and believe in you. And when I was at my lowest, that's what really kind of kept me going, is the fact that even when you don't necessarily believe in yourself, I had people around me that still believed in me and saw my potential and gave me opportunities. And that's something that I now try and do for other people. I want to lift people up and, show them that they can do it as well. And, it's not always going to be rainbows and butterflies and sparkles, it's not that, but you can still create the life that you want to live and do the thing that you are passionate about. So I'm passionate about quite a few different things, but that's why I love entrepreneurship, because I get to choose how I spend my time and I get to explore eclectic passions and interests and make a tangible contribution to people's lives. So again, you can give me one question and I can talk about it for half an hour. So I'll stop now, but
I mean, we would love you to, go on and on. But I would like to add one of my question over here and ask you that, Katie, a lot of people, what happens is a lot of people have different notions about a particular word. So if I talk about entrepreneurship, so you yourself are a very successful entrepreneur. So I would like to ask it from you that, people normally tend to believe that an entrepreneur is someone who have their own business and who is their own boss. But if I ask you, so what according to you is the real meaning or the correct meaning of an entrepreneur, and who is an entrepreneur? And also, what does it take for a person to be a successful entrepreneur?
That's a really good question, actually, Rajni. And I think it's one of those things that I almost felt a bit funny at the beginning, calling myself an entrepreneur. Because I felt like I was like, no, I'm just self-employed. Like, am I an entrepreneur? I don't know. And then that's something, as I've built in confidence, I'm like, well, no, actually, I am an entrepreneur. I have a few businesses, and how I approach the businesses as well, I think is what makes people an entrepreneur, that they're trying to find innovative solutions. They're trying to do things in a different way and be creative. But also, that you have that resilience, because entrepreneurship is hard. Running your own businesses, especially, if you've got a few of them, or if you're doing different voluntary organizations and things, there's a lot of stuff. Not that's the professional term, but, there is a lot of things that you're balancing. And I think that is what crucially makes an entrepreneur is that they have the ability to be creative, to try to innovate, to learn from their mistakes, and to have that resilience. Because the thing is as well, an entrepreneur, yes, is the person that maybe has founded the business or is running the business, but there's also so much value in entrepreneurship. So those same skills that being used internally by people as staff members, so they're using those same skills of creativity, communication, being able to work with a diverse range of people. And again, that resilience, we all need that. But I do think that there is sort of an additional layer that entrepreneurs have. And that spirit to want to keep going and want to see your project come to fruition. So yeah, I think that would be kind of how I personally would view an entrepreneur. But I think there's so much space for entrepreneurship education and entrepreneurship skills, or entrepreneurship skills, should I say, being used in an entrepreneurship capacity.
Okay, so you basically are saying that whether you would describe it as a successful, a person who's running their own business or who are their own boss, rather than that, you would call an entrepreneur who is having their own vision, or who is more passionate toward their work, or who's having a long-term goal or a long-term vision.
I think so because, as I say, it took me a while to be comfortable even calling myself an entrepreneur, because I almost thought, I don't deserve that. I haven't got enough businesses, or I haven't got enough success, or, to qualify almost.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, entrepreneurship can be for everyone. And that's something we do through the Global Entrepreneurship Network as well. I'm currently the Northern Ireland National Director for the Global Entrepreneurship Network. And that's something I'm really passionate about, is inclusive entrepreneurship. Making entrepreneurship accessible for people, for women, for young people, for underrepresented communities, and showing that the sort of idea, the generic idea that you have of an entrepreneur may not always be true. I'm not the typical model of an entrepreneur, but I know that I am now. Just because I'm different, it doesn't matter. You can still be an entrepreneur and still create the change you want to see.
Definitely, most definitely. Katie, with this, I also have one more question. So, while you were sharing your story and your journey, so you actually told that there was a time when you actually went bankrupt, and so bankruptcy happened, and then you actually thought of starting your own business, and you invested your time in building your own business. But so, I actually would like to ask you that when someone think of starting their own business, when someone think of starting their own startup, or whatever they would like to call it, so at that time, and it might happen that they don't have enough financial enough financial support, or enough cash, or or that sort of things. So what should one look out for at that particular time?
Well, Rajni, both my businesses I've actually started with £50. So a lot of, that's what, a lot of people are like, what? They think that, just maybe it's my accent or something, but because I'm English, a lot of people almost have this preconception. They're like, oh, you must have had money, or your family must have given you some, we're working class, or, we're just from an estate in England, we're normal working class people. And that, I didn't have somebody that I could rely on in that sense, to go, okay, well, I need this for investment, or I need this money. And I didn't actually have the confidence at that stage to go out and seek financial support, to go to banks, or to go to investors, to go to, different support schemes. So I thought, right, well, that's my budget at the moment. I've got £50. Let's see what I can do with it. And I think that's, again, where the entrepreneurial spirit side comes in, about being creative, using the budget creatively. So with that £50, all I did was set up a website and buy a pop-up banner. That was it. And the rest of it, I was able to create the social media content, and so much of it you can do for free. There's so many things that you can utilize. There's exceptional platforms. There's people that are prepared to share things for you on social media, doing things like this, just coming on and speaking in different shows and contributing to blog posts, building connections. All of that's free. And I think we kind of forget that a lot of the time. We just think of business and entrepreneurship as like, right, money, 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 money. Everything's
Yeah.
about what we're going to earn. Yes, of course, if you don't have cash, you don't have a business, but it doesn't mean you have to have significant investment. Of course, it depends on your sector and what it is you're trying to do as well. You know, because with my businesses, I was quite lucky that I didn't need that external investment. But of course, you know, if you're doing a big aerospace project, if you're doing something in engineering, if you're doing research and development, you're going to need that funding. And I think it's worth looking at, you know, what local authorities offer or the council areas, if the national bodies or organisations are doing any schemes. And sometimes there'll be grants and things, you know, for stuff like research and development,
Yeah.
or to put staff through, you know, additional training. So I think one part is whatever budget you do have, use it creatively. Remember that cash is king. That's what I learned from the bankruptcy. And somebody said to me, look, cash is king, Katie. Watch your cash flow at all times. If you don't have cash, you don't have a business. So that's two pieces. And I think also looking out and seeing what support is available and just reaching out to people and asking, you know, there's no harm in making a phone call. There's no harm in sending an email and just saying, look, I'm stuck. Can you guys speak to me? Can we have a meeting? Could you send me some information on what you guys offer? Is there anything that you're running at the moment that I could avail of? And I think, again, that is the entrepreneurial side where you're looking for the opportunities. It's not just, you know, what's handed to you. You're actively going out and seeking the opportunities that you can then use to drive your businesses forward.
Also, you know, Katie, you answered it such you know, in such a beautiful way. And also because when people start their businesses, and when people you know, in the crucial time, in the crucial period, you know, they actually are afraid to take that risk, and they are afraid to, you know, go talk to people and make that one phone call, which can become a very huge and important step in their career, because they are actually afraid of taking those steps, because they think that what might other people think about them, and you know, because of that constant judgment from the society and from the relatives and from the friends and everyone. So they find it very, very hard to take such steps. But I think, if would you agree with me if I say that if you have passion towards not just entrepreneurship, but towards anything that you would like to do, you have to get rid of all those thoughts and all those things you have in your mind about people making judgment of your decisions.
Absolutely. And that's one of the difficult things, I think, as well, is you almost have to grow this like thicker skin as an entrepreneur to be like, look, you are going to come up against people that doubt you, people that don't believe in you, people that tell you that you're wrong. When I was bankrupt, people said to me, what are you doing starting another business? Why are you doing that? That's too big of a risk. Why don't you go back into a normal job where it's stable and secure? And I said, because that doesn't make me happy. And, you know, some people may have disagreed with me, and I said, right, I'm going to prove them wrong. But I think, you know, a lot of it is kind of, again, it all links with mental health, in my opinion, you know, being true to who you are, your identity, what it is you want from your life. Because, you know, so many times we speak about, oh, I'd love to do that. Or, you know, when you're younger, I'd love to do that when I'm older. Oh, we'll do that once we're married. We'll do that once we have kids. We'll do that once I reach this age. And we never do it then. We're always putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And I think sometimes, if, of course, you've got, you know, a plan in place, you can just bite that bullet and say, do you know what? This is what I want to do. And it might be tough. And it is going to be tough, you know, at stages. And there might be challenges that you haven't foreseen along the way. But it doesn't mean that you have to quit. It means that you reach out for support, you go back to the drawing board, and you say, right, how can we adapt, be flexible and change? And again, take that growth mindset approach of, okay, well, just because it isn't right at the moment, just because I haven't got it yet, doesn't mean that it's going to be the same in 6 months' time, or that it's going to be the same in a year's time.
Yeah, definitely. With this, Katie, also, you know, so a very important question I would like to ask you over here is that, you know, when your business starts to earn money, when it, you know, it becomes financially independent, and you, you know, start growing financially. So you know, at that time, it is very hard for you to take risk as in, you know, if one of your creative thing is working. So you are, you know, you in your head tend to think that whether my next creative step would work or whether it would fail. So will I get the same money that I'm earning right now, or how is it going to be? So at that time, we just work whatever is working in the market, so for the financial need that is covering, I mean, for the financial thing that is
Mhm.
helping us. But at that time, how do we convince ourselves to not just, stick to that one pace and be creative and be more, take more risk, and
Mhm.
whether it might be successful or not, just keep on going with
Well,
your
that's it. I think,
creativity.
yeah, no, absolutely. And creativity is so important. And, when I say creativity, I don't just mean, being able to paint a picture, like that type of creativity. It's
Yeah.
creativity in thinking, in finding solutions, in being flexible. And if you have found something that's working,
Mhm.
fantastic. Keep doing that, keep trying to grow that. But I think what separates people, and what separates entrepreneurs even,
Mhm.
is that successful entrepreneurs never stop learning, and they never
Yeah.
stop developing, they never stop growing, and they're always looking to innovate. They're always looking for that next thing. How can we develop this? How can we maybe use the model of what we've been doing successfully and
Mhm.
apply that to another project or another product or another service? And I think that is something that's really, really important to keep doing within entrepreneurship, is having that innovative inclination, that you're always being curious and you're always thinking,
Mhm.
oh, well, what about if I did that? It doesn't, just because you're doing one thing successfully doesn't mean that you can't have little background projects. That's
Yeah.
something I'm a big fan of, is a side project.
Uh-huh.
And having, something where you can just try things out, dip your toe in the water. You don't have to, it doesn't have to always be massive, big risks that you're taking. Every day as an entrepreneur is a risk. Every day in
Yeah.
business is a risk, because,
Mhm. True.
you're always dealing with different people. You can't control things such as the pandemic. There's things that are external forces that are outside of your control. But again, that's where the creativity comes in, to go, okay, well, I can't deliver my tuition face to face. I can't deliver my courses face to face. Let's look at switching to a digital model. Let's look at how we can utilize social media, and utilizing what we do have, rather than always focusing on, oh, we can't do that or we don't have that. Let's
Mhm.
flip that thinking and go, okay, well, let's find a solution. Let's find something that does work. And if you have already found something that is working really well, can that be applied then, to
Okay.
something different that you're doing?
With this, Katie, also, a lot of people are there who. Okay, so before I ask you that question, I would like to ask you: do you have a crisis management?
Yes, I have, well, it's me, but I have not a management team. But
Okay.
I kind of have steps and little like red flags that I look out for, that I've learned from the bankruptcy.
Mm-hmm.
Going through that, if I see any of those things, I know now that I can nip it in the bud, and I can go, right, this is what's happening. This is when you need to do X, Y, and Z. This is who
Mm-hmm.
you need to speak to. This is who you need to ask the question to. Because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the time, as entrepreneurs and business professionals, I think there's a lot of there's almost this attitude of, you can't be friends, you can't collaborate, you're always in
Yeah.
competition,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we need to change that mindset, because collaboration and cooperation is better for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that you're going, oh, we're working on this project and here's all the details so that somebody
Mm-hmm.
can, duplicate it. But you could say, have you ever been in that position? How did you handle it? Something I'm actually struggling with.
Mm-hmm.
And again, a lot of people, they're worried all the time about what other people think of them.
Yeah.
Oh, if I ask that question, they're going to think I'm silly. If I ask that question, they're going to think I don't know how to run a business. And the
Mm-hmm.
thing is, when we all start out in business, none of us really know what it's like. We
Mm-hmm.
all have to start from somewhere, because no matter how many qualifications you've done, no matter how much reading you've done, until you actually apply it and are in the nitty gritty on the ground every day, that's when you see what it really is like to be an entrepreneur. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when I think that you think to yourself, okay, well, if this goes wrong, this is how, excuse me, this is how I can mitigate that. And then next time we know, okay, well, we need to put this safety barrier in, or we need to put this procedure in, we need to put this in the terms and conditions. It could be little
Mm-hmm.
things that can
Yeah.
easily be tweaked, but sort of reduce the chance of that crisis coming them.
Okay. Okay. So also, Katie, when the pandemic happened and this lockdown happened, so a lot of businesses have also suffered. And if they were not, everyone thought that, okay, so this virus has come into our lives. So it is going, there's come, it's going to go like, I mean, everyone thought of it as a flu. I mean, they didn't think that, something as such this big is going to happen with them. So, because of which a lot of businesses suffered, and a lot of businesses are still trying to sustain in the market. So, what advice would you like to give them, and what would you like to say to them?
Well, firstly, my goodness me, I cannot imagine what some people have been going through in terms of their businesses. The hospitality sector, the travel sector, they've just been decimated,
Yeah.
and the thing is, without the appropriate level of government support and intervention, they're not going to be able to recover. And some of them haven't been able to, they've had to close their doors permanently in, even like manufacturing, because of the knock on from the aerospace industry and people not traveling.
Mm-hmm.
It has an impact then right through the supply chain. And, I think that sometimes there are things that happen like this that are outside of our control. And it's so unfortunate because, there's, yes, of course, there's room for that creativity and room for the resilience and, trying to find different solutions. But sometimes it just won't work. Sometimes it's too much, sometimes there's too many obstacles that cannot be overcome. And that is very, very sad for people. I was very lucky in that my businesses, I could adapt to a digital model. But a lot of companies and businesses weren't able to and can't do that, because of the nature of what they do. So I think, for a lot of people, it's going to be a very, very challenging time. But I think that it sounds almost like cliche, but it's keeping your chin up, and it is reflection on you. These are forces outside of your control. That you can take a step back sometimes and look at the whole situation and go, okay, well, because I can't do this at the moment, does it mean that in 6 months, does it mean in 12 months we couldn't maybe restart? Or could we do something different? Like hospitality businesses and restaurants and things adapted and pivoted. So some I think it was either a gin company or a beer brewing company where they adapted their model and they actually started producing hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
Or looking at something in a different way, basically. But yeah, I would definitely just say keep going. We all go through things that are really, really tough, and I know this is absolutely unprecedented. We've never been through something like this, but there will be a way out to recover, and there will be a way to come back from this, even if it does take a bit of time.
And also, Katie, would you like to predict when, according to you, the things go back to normal? I mean, it's hard to say, but yeah.
Oh my goodness, I don't know if I can predict that. I wouldn't be very accurate, but I think, actually, to be honest, I think it depends on the sector that you're in, because if we're looking at individual sectors, of course, their timelines are going to be completely different. But within the next sort of like 2 to 3 years, I would expect to see a good amount of economic recovery. But really, it's going to be probably like 5-10 years that we actually see the full impact that's had on, things like unemployment, on funding even, because the thing is, where the government has had to give out so much support, and rightly so, more could have been done also, but that's a separate issue. That we are going to have a lot of stuff to repay.
Yeah.
So, it's going to be a lot of, well, I don't know what it is. I think it's checks and balances. They're saying that there's going to be a lot of work that needs done to recover and to support the economy. But that's where it's fantastic for local businesses and small businesses, where people want to support local. They want to support their local entrepreneurs and their shops now, because they see the impact that it has. Small businesses and entrepreneurs sustain the economy. There's hundreds of thousands of small and medium companies and entrepreneurs that are working within those spaces. So I think more support is needed in order for that recovery to happen. But I would say that we probably won't see any sort of real tangible notable growth, should we say, for probably 3 to 5 years. But as I say, I'm not an economist, so
Uh-huh.
an economist could be going, oh my goodness, no, it's more like 10 years, Katie, or 20 years. But I would say fingers crossed, hopefully 3 to 5 years we'll see some sort of
Yeah.
positivity.
Yeah, true. Everyone is actually hoping it to be as soon as possible. So we are really hoping it to be in, I really hope that your prediction comes true and it happens in 3 to 4, 3 to 4 years. But Katie, with this, so now, before the lockdown happened, we didn't have the work from home culture. We were, we had this 9 to 5 jobs and all these things. So now, we do have these, still, we do have 9 to 5 jobs, but now everything have become quite easy, as in people are working from their home and they don't have that office setup and that culture. So what do you think? Would you, I mean, after everything goes back to normal, do you still think the company should take work from home, work from home culture forward? Or, how do you think it should go?
Well, I think working from home for a lot of people has been really beneficial.
Yeah.
I
And
work from
also, I
home.
think for a lot, I'm sorry to
No, go on.
interrupt you, but also I think for a lot of companies too, because they have done so much of cost cutting and
Absolutely. And that's the thing, for there's two levels to it, on an individual level, how it affects us personally, but also an organizational level, and as
Mhm.
you say there, for some organizations, it's been incredible for cost saving. They're not,
Yeah.
they haven't had to pay out for office space if they've been able to adapt and, of course, different things, but, they've been able to reduce outgoings. They've been able to reduce certain costs for things. And
Mhm.
also, time, the utilization of time, I think, has been a lot better
Yeah.
because we've been able to do things online. So
Yeah.
instead of having to travel for 2 hours or an hour and a half for a meeting and then an hour and a half back, so
Mhm.
that's 3 hours just traveling,
Yeah.
plus the meeting itself. So people, I think, have become a lot more flexible, but a lot better at managing their time, I think. But of course, on a person, that's, an organizational level, but on a personal level, the pandemic has affected everyone so individually.
Mhm.
Everybody keeps saying, oh, we're in the same boat. We're all in the same boat. We're not.
Yeah.
we're all living through well, there's a saying, isn't there? We're all living through the same storm. That it's the same thing that's happening, but we're not all experiencing it in the same way.
Yeah.
Some families will have suffered grief, and then they're trying to deal with that and deal with homeschooling, and single parents, trying to deal with that and trying to work from home. It's been very challenging. But I
Mhm.
think there's a lot of space moving forward for flexible working and for allowing people to have a bit more of a say, a bit more ownership on of their time. And to be honest, I think that's actually going to be a lot better for organizations because their staff are going to be more engaged. They're going to feel more motivated. They're going to feel more trusted. We've
Mhm.
proven in the pandemic that we can still do it. We can
Mhm.
trust people to complete their work, and they don't
Yeah.
need to be micromanaged all the time, and they don't need to be all sitting in the same room to achieve the same things, so I think going
Yeah.
forward, we're going to see a lot of that. But I also
Mhm.
think that we need to be very conscious and very proactive in terms of supporting women and mothers, and also supporting
Yeah.
young entrepreneurs and underrepresented entrepreneurs as well, because we know that they've been
Mhm.
disproportionately affected by the pandemic,
Mhm.
with mothers still taking a lot of that traditional role,
Yeah.
and we need to look at how we support women that they can work more flexibly, that there is more childcare provision so they can achieve the things that they want, that we get
Mhm.
rid of that social attitude that it is just the women's job or the
Mhm.
woman's role,
Yeah.
extending paternity leave, making paternal
Yeah.
or paternity working, more flexible. So I think there's
Mhm.
so much room and scope for flexibility. And I think the pandemic has only proven further that we can do it. And I
Mhm.
think it is going to be very beneficial if used, in an appropriate way for certain businesses and sectors.
Katie, you actually, one last question to you. So you actually mentioned about supporting women and taking care of them. So, now that you have mentioned this, I would like to ask you one question, um, a very important question. So you being a woman, have you ever, faced any kind of problem or any kind of anything, from anyone of you being a boss, of you being an entrepreneur, or you owning the business?
Very much so. Um, with
Okay.
me, it's well, it's almost threefold. There's the issue of being, or not the issue, but the fact that I am a woman, the fact that I'm a young entrepreneur and started out as a young entrepreneur. So there's two levels of
Mm-hmm.
discrimination, and also being a disabled entrepreneur. So there's three sort of barriers to entry there. And
Mm-hmm.
particularly as a woman, though, whenever I go to events or award ceremonies with my partner, people always approach him first, and they think
Yeah.
even when he's an entrepreneur now, but when he wasn't an entrepreneur, they would say,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, nice to meet you. Is it your business?" And they always assumed
Okay.
that he was the business owner and I worked for him. And I've
Mm-hmm.
been asked that
Okay.
so many times. They go, "Oh, is this your secretary? Is this your personal assistant?" And he was like, "No, that's my fiance. She's the entrepreneur." But there was just that assumption from a lot of older generation. If I am being honest, it was a lot of older, sort of more senior entrepreneurs and business people that just
Mm-hmm.
expected that it was him. And when they found
Mm-hmm.
out it was me, you could see their face. Oh, okay. It was kind of like a shock.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think we are starting to move away from that slowly but surely. But there is definitely still, I think, this, well, not stigma, that there's almost an additional layer of sort of doubt or discrimination, that
Mm-hmm.
women can't be mothers and entrepreneurs and wives or partners, that we can't be all of them or the things that we want to be. But why not? We
The
just because we
misogynistic mindset. The
Yeah,
misogynistic mindset.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And you do find that, even still, that, you are still faced with misogyny, and that can be through little looks or people's body language, or it could be through
Yeah.
certain things that they say, that, oh, I can't handle when women start crying. Oh, I can't handle when women are like that. They're so emotional. And,
Yeah.
sometimes people may see them as throwaway comments,
Mm-hmm.
but realistically, when you look at that at the core, you're
Mm-hmm.
generalizing all of women. And what's wrong with being emotional?
Mm-hmm.
It means that you understand people. It means you're empathic. What's wrong with
Yeah.
empathic leadership?
True.
You know, we can embrace that. And I think that there's so many skills and qualities and fantastic traits that women bring to
Mm-hmm.
leadership and to entrepreneurship
Yeah.
that contributes to making an organization or to making their business successful. And I think they need more support with that. And also tackling that imposter syndrome. Because
Mm-hmm.
as women, we know this. I did an International Women's Day campaign for Jen, and all the women that I spoke to, and this was 56 women from across Northern Ireland that took part,
Okay.
every single one of them mentioned that about confidence and imposter syndrome, about that they didn't believe in themselves, that people
Mm-hmm.
didn't believe in them because they were a woman, that they faced additional barriers to entry, even in terms of funding.
Mm-hmm.
There's, I think it was the Rose Report. Don't quote me if quote me if I'm wrong, or correct me if I'm wrong. But I
Mm-hmm.
think the Rose Report says something like only 2% of funding actually goes to female entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
think
there,
that
there
that's
has to
correct.
be there has to be a whole systemic shift, and a whole societal change in attitudes towards women,
Mm-hmm.
and that, do you know what, we are valuable too. We're here as well, and
Yeah.
we can contribute. We have all these incredible skills. Let's give them the opportunity. Let's
Mm-hmm.
support them and give them the resources and the things that they need to go on and do what they want to do, basically. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why I set up Firelight. In the last couple of months, off the back of the International Women's Day campaign, I've set up the Female Youth Leadership Academy. So it's called Firelight
Mm-hmm.
Global. And my goal is to be able to support young women, girls from the age of 4 years old all the way through to 30. That's my vision with it. And that
That's amazing.
we're creating leaders and giving them that confidence and the skills and you know, the knowledge and the connections and opportunities from when they are so young. You know, there was research done that showed at the age of 7 years old is when a girl starts to doubt herself and starts to think that she can't achieve the things she wants. So we need to get in before that. We need to get in before that point, so that, you know, they recognize that they are valuable and they are worthy and they are talented and capable, you know. So sorry, I could talk about that all day, but
yeah, true. I mean, I can totally feel you, because, you know, I think we still have a long way to go, and we have to change the route and change the route. I mean, you know, we, as much as we can, you know, we can talk about it all day long, but I think we really have to work upon it. And the root cause of it, I don't know. I mean, it happens, you know, earlier I used to think, when I was a kid, I used to think that it only happens in, you know, in the third world countries. It doesn't happen in the first world countries or the developed countries. But now that, you know, now that I'm talking to you and talking to other, you know, other women from different countries, so they actually, all of them have faced a different, same kind of situation. So I think this actually exists in, you know, everywhere, and also it is deep rooted. So we have to change. Yeah, we have to change
that's it. It has to be, that's what I was saying about it has to be a systemic change. You know, it's a societal change, the whole attitude. And yes, it is a massive piece of work, you know, but the thing is, it's down to us, and we can do those little things every day that work towards that. But keep lobbying, keep having those conversations, keep, you know, talking about policy, keep, you know, using appropriate language and calling people out. And again, not in an aggressive way. You know, it doesn't have to be, oh, why are you saying that? And you shouldn't have said this. We can have those conversations in a constructive way and say, well, actually, do you know what? Those types of language or those types of words, they're actually quite offensive to me, or they're offensive to women. You know, would you be open to perhaps changing and using this type of language? This language would be more positive, you know. And I think, again, it's those interactions, that empathy. We don't always have to be arguing and always, you know, shouting from the rooftops. But it doesn't mean that we don't absolutely believe in what we're trying to achieve, but we can go about it in a constructive way that is ensures equality and opportunity for everyone. You know, it's not to say, I don't think, you know, that, oh, we need to be better, we need to have more rights than men, or we need to have more rights than other people. We just all need to be equal. We're all human. We all deserve opportunity, you know. So I think it's the responsibility of all of us every day to create that change.
You know, we are not men hating, we are not degrading men, we are just asking for equal rights.
Absolutely, that's it.
Thank you so much, Katie, for coming to SQ TV and speaking with us. It was so lovely chatting with you again, and was such a fun conversation. So thank you so much for taking your time out and coming to the channel and doing the show. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you so much again for the opportunity. I love coming on and chatting. So anytime I'll be there.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, guys, that's it from SQ Global. Keep on watching and do subscribe to the channel.